Okay, this is the AWS mock interview day 9. We already completed 8 mock interviews on AWS. So if anyone missed it, right, you can check out the playlist section. There you can find AWS mock interview, sorry, AWS interview question and answers. So please like this video. If I get at least 10 likes on this video, I will upload the next mock interview. So Hani Sethi, can you please introduce yourself?
Hello.
Yes, Hani Sethi.
Thank you for giving this opportunity. My name is Aniseti Venkatesh, a Devops engineer with 5 years of experience, currently working at the X company in Kondapur, Hyderabad. My skill set including extensive expertise in AWS for cloud infrastructure management and Git for version control. I'm well versed in continuous integration and deployment using Jenkins along with build code automation through Maven. I have experience with code quality and security tools like SonarQube and JFrog, as well as configuration management using Ansible. In the realm of containerization, I work with Docker and Kubernetes for orchestrating and scaling application. My proficient in infrastructure as a code demonstrate through my use of Terraform. I'm additional in shell scripting, automate tasks, and utilize Prometheus and Grafana for monitoring and visualization. My background equips to me drive efficient and reliable DevOps in any dynamic environment. Thank you. That's it.
Yeah, still Hani Sethi, the same like last in the mock interview you have performed, right? Same like that itself. Previous to
Okay.
like previous mock, you performed not well. Okay. Previously, whenever you attend,
Mhm.
it was perfect. It's okay. But still there is a gaps. So Arish, please give him a feedback.
Okay, just fill the gaps. Don't give full stop or comma. Continue with the tools. Just remember Jenkins for CI/CD, version control, Git, and orchestration, Docker, Kubernetes. You can say this. Just remember these things and the name. That's it.
Yeah.
So you can use your own
Okay.
words.
And if
Okay.
you should not give gap in Git, then after for version control. You complete Git for version control, then give the gap. It's okay. In between the tools, if you are discussing like for infrastructure, I'm using Terraform. For infrastructure, I'm using Terraform. You should not give a gap. You need to complete a bunch of like it about you. If you are telling for infrastructure, I'm using Terraform. Complete. Then after you can give the gap. It's okay. Getting my point?
Okay, I understand.
Giving gap
Yes, I
is
understand.
yeah. Giving gap is not
Yes,
a
and
bad thing, but
Git
you can
is
give.
and source code is, yeah. Yes, Git and source code both are each only one tool. That's we completed a single word.
Yeah. You should give the gap, but opposite person will feel that you are speaking confidently. So even Arish is also taking a gap, but we will not get it that he is taking the gap. But let's check.
Okay.
Harish,
Yes.
please introduce yourself.
Myself, XYZ. I have 4+ years of experience in IT industry along with cloud DevOps. Right now, I am working in XYZ organizations from last 2 years, and in this organization, I was working on cloud management tools like AWS and Azure. And right now, I am working in Azure as a administrator, like on virtual machine storage accounts and images by creating image EHD files. And in previous organization, we were working on AWS on EC2, RDS, S3 buckets, and AMIs, cross regions, all these things. And then come to tools like CI/CD pipeline. We are using Jenkins for continuous integration and continuous delivery. And we are monitoring for monthly release and weekly release. And for monitoring tools like Grafana we were using, then switch to version control tool Git we were using, and also in GitHub Actions we were using actions for developing code, and also we are using customized actions for developing code, and we are producing to the customers. And then coming into the infrastructure as code, we were using Terraform for automating the things, along with automating in Jenkins CI/CD for continuous delivery, and also coming to orchestration and monitoring, we were using Docker and Kubernetes. Along with Kubernetes, we were using Grafana and Argo CD for monitoring the things.
Okay, we will use Argo City for the deployment, not for
Deployment.
monitoring.
Yes, sorry.
Okay, so shall we start the mock? So here the major focus was, the title is AWS mock interview. So we will focus on AWS itself, because even if you attend for interviews on DevOps, right, they will ask some questions on AWS also. So let's become expert on AWS. That's the reason I'm conducting a separate mock interviews on AWS and separate mock interviews on DevOps. If I merge both of them, you will confuse. So that's the reason. And today the main focus will be on S3 service. Okay. In the past, which service we have completed, Aniseti? Did you remember? On which service we have completed the mock interviews in AWS? Aniseti, you are not audible.
EC2, EC2.
Yes. So we have completed EC2. On EC2, I've asked already 50 questions. So if you have missed that, right, you
Yes.
can go to playlist section. There you can check EC2 interview question and answers separately. Separate. You can find AWS interview question and answers separately. Only for particular EC2 also I've divided. You can check EC2 service. Okay. For S3 also I've divided. You can check. Okay. I will just share my screen and I will ask you the questions. It's okay if you don't know the answers, it's okay. But in the next mock interview, you should not repeat the same, right? So, what is S3 object lock and how does it help in regulatory compliance? So, we can lock our S3 bucket, right? Nothing but objects in the S3 bucket. What is the use of that? So, how does it help in regulatory compliance? Nothing but there will be some compliance policies will be there for every company. So how it will help us in that? That is the question.
This will help us from deletion of the files, like whatever we are stored in the S3 bucket. So if you lock the bucket, it will prevent from deletion or deleting the object.
Super. Aniseti, you want to add something?
Yeah, it is unique key values and the store many objectives you can want.
Super. It's okay. You are just trying to participate. I want this. Okay. When I will ask first Harish. Okay. If Harish cannot able to answer, you answer. In between, what you can do? You can Google it. Okay.
Yes. Google it is.
How would you use S3 select to retrieve specific data from an object? Harish. You can also use the Google. How would you use S3 select to retrieve specific data from an object?
By using SQL statements, but manually I don't know.
Using S3 select, you need to retrieve some data.
Okay.
Nothing but I have one file in my S3 bucket. I want to retrieve that file. That too using S3 select.
No.
How you will do that? I will go to next question. We already completed 30 seconds.
Okay.
So how can you implement disaster recovery with S3? I am repeating the question again. How can you implement disaster recovery with S3?
Okay.
Anisete, do you want to try? Now this time you can try. Harish, you can Google it in the
Okay.
backend. Disaster recovery with S3. How can you implement disaster recovery with S3?
We can store the data and recovery.
Okay. Harish, you want to try?
Yeah, we can enabling versioning of the bucket so that we can
Yes,
implement this.
you are right. How would you enforce bucket policies to deny uploads of unencrypted data? So nothing but I want to only allow encrypted data to upload. I need to deny the unencrypted data. So how you will do that? How would you enforce bucket policy? Nothing but I'm telling I need to write a bucket for policy in such a way so that it should deny the objects which is unencrypted.
Okay, like only allowing the default encrypted data to be uploaded in the policies. We need to select that
Yes,
one, and then the while creating folder, we need to encrypt like a folder with the encryption option, like
yes,
KMS something. Yes.
yes. Let's check about the answers after some time. So, what are the benefits of use cases for S3 Glacier and S3 Glacier Deep Archive? What are the benefits and use cases? For what purpose we will use this S3 Glacier and S3 Glacier Deep Archive? You can just Google it. What are the benefits and use cases for S3 Glacier and S3 Glacier Deep Archive?
For deep archive, we are using this for long-term retention, and for Glacier, we are using for archiving the data that is
Super.
not accessed frequently. Like,
Yes, you are right. I want this type of answers. Okay, it's okay even if it is wrong or even if it is short. I just want an participation. Explain how would you use lifecycle policies to manage data retention in S3. I will repeat the question again. Explain how you would use lifecycle policies to manage data retention in S3. What is lifecycle policies? That's it. This is a simple question. So, Anisette, you want to try? Okay, time is over. I will go to
But
next question.
life cycle policies and a work base of three different rules of the user.
Okay. How can you automate S3 bucket creation and management using infrastructure as a code? Nothing but I want to create an S3 bucket automatically using a tool called as using a tool infrastructure using a infrastructure as a code. How you will do that?
by using backend block in the Terraform.
How can you automate S3 bucket creation? I want to create S3 bucket automatically. Okay. How do you optimize S3 costs for large scale data storage? How do you optimize S3 costs for large scale data storage?
We delete some servers, unused servers.
How would you set up server access logging for an S3 bucket? How would you handle data residency requirement with S3?
Data, no.
Okay, shall we check the answers for all the question?
Yes.
So you
Yes.
can mute yourself. So first question is what is S3 object lock and how does it help in regulatory compliance? So S3 object lock prevents object from being deleted or overwritten for a fixed amount of time. Retention, that is what retention period. Example, using object lock to comply with financial regulations by ensuring transaction records cannot be altered for a specific period. So how would you use S3 select to retrieve specific data from an object? S3 select allows you to query and retrieve only a subset of data from within an object using SQL expressions. So querying specific fields from a large CSV file stored in S3 without downloading the entire file, okay, using SQL. How can you implement disaster recovery with S3? Use cross-region replication and versioning to ensure data is replicated and retained in multiple regions. So ensuring business continuity by replicating customer data to a different regions and enabling versioning to recover from accidental deletions. How would you enforce bucket policies to deny uploads of unencrypted data? So write a bucket policy that requires the use of server-side encryption by denying any put requests that do not include the appropriate encryption header. Example, enforcing encryption on a bucket used to store sensitive client information. So next question is, what are the benefits and use cases of our S3 Glacier and S3 Glacier Deep Archive? So S3 Glacier is used for long-term infrequent access storage, offering low-cost archiving with retrieval times ranging from minutes to hours. So Glacier Deep Archive offers even lower cost storage. Okay, S3 Glacier, it's a low cost, but compared to S3 Glacier, this is very much okay, even lower cost with retrieval times in hours. Okay, here minutes to hours, here hours. Example, archiving complex document that need to be retained for years but are rarely accessed. Like for suppose if there are students data, okay, so last year data is not needed, right? Like for suppose if you are collecting attendance information of every student, so I know it of last year's attendance. I can make it in the Glacier, right? Because I will not use that. I doesn't access. Okay. Explain how would you use lifecycle policies to manage data retention in S3. Okay, use lifecycle policies to transition objects to different storage classes or delete them after a certain period. Okay, example, automatically deleting log files older than 90 days to save on storage cost. This is also one type of lifecycle policy. How can you automate S3 bucket creation and management using infrastructure as a code? Okay, we can use AWS CloudFormation or Terraform to define and automate the creation of management of S3 bucket, right? I can write it using Terraform. I can able to create a S3 bucket, but you are telling we can use backend, but backend is different.
Yeah, got it. Just we need to answer only the name of the infrastructure, right?
Yes.
Okay, got confused.
So automating the creation of S3 bucket for different environments, dev, test, and prod using Terraform. How do you optimize S3 cost for large scale data storage? So optimize cost by selecting the appropriate storage class, enabling lifecycle policies, using S3 analytics to monitor usage patterns. So transition rarely access to backup files to S3 Glacier to reduce the storage class. Nothing but we can use the lifecycle policy. So if the people is not accessing these files longer than 30 days, please move this file from standard to infrequent access, from infrequent access to one zone access, from one zone access to Glacier, right? Like that I can able to kept a policy so that we can optimize, right? How would you set up server access logging for an S3 bucket? So enable server access login on the bucket, specifying another bucket as a log destination, setting up logging of public S3 bucket to track access of matter or potential security incidents. Okay, so we are just storing one bucket information that logs into another bucket. How would you handle data resistancy requirement with S3? Ensure data is stored in an S3 bucket located in the region that complies with data residency regulation. Storing UU customer data in S3 bucket located in UU region to comply with GDPR. Okay. So there will be some company to company policies will be there, right? Like for suppose some company will have policy that my data should not go to other country. So at that time, what you can do? You can use that data on that particular country itself. So at that time, you need to use a specific region. Okay, you should not create that S3 bucket on other region. Okay, ensure data is stored in a S3 bucket located in a region that complies with data residency regulations. Okay. So yeah, that's it. We have successfully completed the mock interview. Let's meet again in the next mock interview on AWS. So please like this video so that we will continue this mock interviews.